Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular business meeting of the Board of Trustees. Sorry for the little delay. Obviously, we had a little exec session that ran a little late, so I appreciate your patience with that. If I could ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item 2 on tonight's agenda is patrons' comments. There being none, we'll move on to item 3, the consent agenda. Dr. Terrell?
Thank you for your consideration this evening in our consent agenda. We have the minutes of the meetings as listed. We have the personnel agenda as 3.02, and then 3.03, which is our voucher of registered checks as listed.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bazin, second by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion on those 3 items?
Just like to make that same statement I make every time for this. The previous board gave Dr. Terrell the ability to do this without the consent of the school board personnel. Am I correct on that?
That was only during certain months of the year where we had the approval to hire before bringing it here.
Here's my point. I think we're just, if Dr. Terrell already has permission to do so, why do we need to approve what he's already done?
Again, it's, if you want to jump in.
Go ahead.
It's basically, it's going through the formality of the board approving the personnel decisions that are made, using the processes that are in place here to hire and place people in their positions.
And I understand your concern on that, Tim. It's one of those things where obviously sometimes the timing just doesn't allow for individuals to be hired and be put in the classrooms. Is that what you're referring to?
Well,
prior to official approval by us.
It just seems to me that if Dr. Terrell can do this, let's let him do it. And why do we have to have, why does he need our approval if we've already given him approval to do so? Seems like almost redundant.
Well, let's keep that for another, we'll bring that topic up at another point, either in this meeting or in the near future.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, action item. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. Any more questions, first of all? Any more questions or comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Item 4 on the agenda is action items. 4.01, approval to apply for and receive the Title I, Part A, Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards. Oh, okay. Let me read. Approval to apply for and receive the Title I, Part A, Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards. Mr. Hardman.
Thank you, Mr. Angel. I'm glad you said that. This evening, bringing to you the annual Title I grant. This grant is federal money that is allocated through the state of Indiana. It's based on a poverty level of each school corporation. This year, our allocation is $662,615.72. The breakdown is before you. This is a unique year because of redistricting. So we did have to make some adjustments, projected adjustments based on the redistricting of our free and reduced lunch population and enrollments at our school. So as you can see, I did put an asterisk there that is projected. As we get to October 1st and we firm up what those numbers are with our ADM counts and our free and reduced lunch, there probably might be some changes in those percentages. We are anticipating that 4 schools will be Title I this year. MacArthur, Solon, Timothy Ball have been for 20-some years, as long as I've been here, Title I schools, which means they get additional funding through Title I to support the learning needs of their students. This year, Jerry Ross projected will qualify also. So this is a kind of a phase-in year as we're looking at Jerry Ross. We've allocated an amount of money to the 3 previous schools in order to kind of protect their programming that they've had, although Solon Robinson has taken a significant change if you look at the information from 22 to 23, and Timothy Ball has taken a substantial leap. Jerry Ross is allocated the $77,000, and as we continue to look at Jerry Ross and see the firmness, I think, of their free and reduced lunch population, then we would be making some additional changes as we move forward in years to come. So this year we are seeking your approval of the Title I grant in the amount of $662,615.72.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to apply for and receive funding from the Indiana Department of Education Title I Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards non-competitive grant in the amount of, I have $661,615.72.
That's a great question. You have 2 different numbers.
We're $1,000 off based on the number you read. Just want to make sure before we move forward with the approval.
Okay. If you can, hang on just a moment.
And then I do see on your worksheet, it does say 662.
It is 662.
Okay, all right. Let me go back to that. I will reread the recommendation. The administration recommends approval to, for, and apply and receive funding from the Indiana Department of Education Title I Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards non-competitive grant in the amount of $662,615.72. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion? All those in favor?
The only question I have, Mr. Hardman, is I noticed in 2022, the free and reduced projected was 19.74. This year's 25.35%
Correct.
of the student population. Does the formula change in determining the free
No.
and reduced, or is it just,
Now, we look at the free and reduced lunch population compared to the enrollment. And again, I emphasize this is projected based on the end of last year, looking at students' free and reduced lunch. That could change, therefore it is projected. It is higher than what it's been in the past, which is somewhat surprising to me
economic
also.
circumstances
Yeah.
generally?
But we'll be more firm as we get to ADM.
Understood. Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. 4.02, approval to apply for and receive Title II, Part A, Supporting Effective Instruction. Mr. Hardman.
Making sure my numbers are. Okay. Title II is a professional development grant that Crown Point has applied for over the time. It too is federal money that is allocated through the state of Indiana. This year our allocation is a total of $166,977.50. There is an allocation that goes to non-public schools, and that is based on a per pupil amount. That's calculated when you add up our enrollments with the 3 non-public schools, and you can see that our actual professional development amount is $148,997.12, which is up substantially this year for Title II, which we're happy for. Then you can see in what it's used for. It is used for professional development for our teachers, for our administrators. It's to really help us to develop the skills of our teaching staff and our administrative staff in Crown Point Community School Corporation. So this year we're seeking your approval to apply for and receive the funding from Title II in the amount of $166,977.50.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval for granting and applying for and receiving funding in the amount of $166,977.50 from the Title II Part A grant to support effective instruction. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, second by Ms. Bazin. Question or discussion?
Mr. Hardman, is the non-public allocation, is that set by the state?
No, it comes out of our allocation.
Mhm.
So when we look at the enrollments of Crown Point Community School Corporation, St. Mary's, Trinity Lutheran, and Northwest Adventist, we then divide that number into 166,000, and that comes up with a per pupil.
Mhm.
And then you take that per pupil amount times the enrollment at St. Mary's, they get their allocation, Trinity gets an allocation, and Northwest Adventist. So it's their enrollment times the per pupil. Then Crown Point gets our enrollment, which is, I think we probably use about 8,800 students times that per pupil, and therefore we get $146,000.
But that's driven by the requirements of the grant.
That is driven by the requirements, yes.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 4.03, approval to apply for and receive Title III Language Instruction for Limited English Proficient and Immigrant Students Grant. Mr. Hardman.
Thank you again. Our English learners, those are students that come that were, English is not their first language, is growing annually. And we do get an allocation that, again, comes from the federal government through Title III, and then it's allocated to us through the state. Our allocation this coming year that we're seeking your approval is for $32,490 period. So this goes to support our interventionist, paraprofessional supplies, and professional development. We also have a component for family and community engagement where our teachers of record and Mrs. Ramirez do meet with the community and get feedback, and really is a good use of our money. And there also is non-public allocation that is available, but in this case this year there were no students, I believe, at the non-public schools that have English learners. Therefore, tonight we're seeking your approval to apply for and receive grant funding from Title III in the amount of $32,490.
You've heard the recommendation from the administration for approval to apply for and receive funding from the Indiana Department of Education Title III Language Instruction for Limited English Proficient and Immigrant Students Non-Competitive Grant in the amount of $32,490. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 4.04, approval to apply for and receive the Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant. Mr. Hardman.
Yes, Title IV is a grant that needs to be used basically in 3 different areas. As you can see in the very first part of the analysis, we're looking at well-rounded education, improving school conditions for student learning, which includes your social-emotional component, and also technology. So those are the 3 categories that we do support with Title IV. Title IV, again, is a grant that comes from the federal government to the state, distributed to schools based on population. It does have a non-public allocation, much like Title II, per pupil amount times their enrollment. This year, we are continuing to support our MTSS. This is part of our support systems for our learners in Crown Point schools with district leaders. This was put in last year's grant also to get us a kickstart into having leadership to develop our MTSS supports, as well as the programming that we have. We hope that at some point in time, that this will become a amount that would be absorbed by the district through a stipend with the ECAs. But at this point in time, until that occurs, we are supporting it through this grant. You can see also we've identified student interventions as well as staff development and opportunities for our support staff with guidance and social workers to receive training. So we're seeking your approval this evening of to apply for and receive $47,576.51 from the Title IV Part A grant.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to apply for and receive funding in the amount of $47,576.51 from the Title IV Part A grant to support a well-rounded education, support social and emotional development, and improve the use of technology. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Vassar. Question or discussion?
Yes, Mr. Hardman, is the formula for the allocations of that total fund, is that dictated by someone else, or is that our own formula that we use?
As far as the amounts that we
Did
allocate?
we give, where you look at the budget items? Of-
Yeah, we dictate that.
We dictate
We
that.
dictate that, yes. The only one that's not, that we have a formula to allocate is the non-public share. So we're required, and that again is enrollment times a per pupil amount that is figured, it's identified through total enrollment divided into the amount of money that we have.
So for the stipends for the district leaders, that seems to be a little heavy at the top then. Is that because there's more leaders, or?
No, there are 2 leaders, and we're looking at, we had 2 last year that were kind of This year, we had 1 resign, and we're looking now at having an elementary and a secondary level person. So these stipends, if you would look in the grant, it does note that they are $7,000 stipends for each, and then the remaining money is their benefits that they get for that $7,000.
And these people are currently hired as teachers?
Yes, one's a psychologist. Well, actually, we had 2 psychologists, and then one of those psychologists has resigned as far as this position,
Oh.
and therefore we're looking to fill it with another certified staff person.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you for your work on all those grants, Mr. Hardman.
You're welcome.
4.05, textbook and resource adoption, elementary. Mr. Chakina.
Thank you, Mr. Angel and board members. The resources listed support our elementary schools' reinforcement of reading instruction, family engagement, and building a community of readers at the school-wide level using the one school, one book style approach. The recommendation from the administration is for the school board to approve the resources as listed for use beginning in 2023-2024.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of the textbook or resource adoption for adoption for use beginning 2023-24. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Kachina, I'm gonna throw you a lob pitch here.
Sure.
Being these elementary students, is there anything in any of these books that are being up for our approval that would be inappropriate politically or sexually or thematic?
No, there's nothing like that, Mr. Mason.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 4.06, German exchange program and out-of-country field trip to Germany and Austria. Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I am requesting support for us to provide our students that study German at the high school an immersive experience which covers 14 days of them traveling throughout Germany and Austria this upcoming summer with 2 of our German teachers from the high school. This is open to 10th through 12th grade students. As part of the German-American Partnership Program, GAP, we also then have German exchange students who come here to learn for approximately 2 weeks in our high school and are hosted by host families on site. When our students go, they also stay with host families and are able to experience and apply the language that they're studying, as well as have many cultural opportunities that really, I think, ferment their passion for culture and passion for German language. In fact, we have one student who is actually going to be attending a German university for 4 years and will be studying environmental science, which is resulting from his passion for the German language and for the culture. I'd like to thank Ms. Candace Carey, who is here, one of our German teachers, for the proposal that she has built and for the trip that she is proposing, and hope that with your support we are able to make the recommendation of you approving the German exchange and out-of-country field trip to Germany and Austria by CPCSC students, June 6th through the 19th, 2024, a reality for our students.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the school board to approve the German exchange and out-of-country field trip to Germany and Austria by our Crown Point High School students, June 16th through the 19th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Vassar. Question or discussion?
Mr. Ramirez, this is a teacher-driven initiative, correct?
Correct.
So, thank you. I'm sorry I did not catch your name, but thank you for taking that initiative to do this. And how many more adults are needed?
It is not glamorous, but I did have a teacher back out once a week before going, so have my passport, please.
They still do that Evelyn Wood thing where you can learn a language in like 3-4 days or something? Because I don't know any German,
That's
unfortunately.
Rosetta.
Just a lot of
Rosetta Stone.
Thank you.
administrators. How many students will go?
I haven't proposed it because it hasn't been
Oh.
approved, but we usually have between 8 and 20 students.
Great.
Wow. Wow.
Well, based on the agenda and the cost, it looks pretty affordable based on that time over there with everything included. So thank you for all your work involved. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 4.07, approve to accept and receive the Secure and Safe School Grant. Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Since 2019, Crown Point School Corporation has applied for and received the Secured School Safety Grant. We did that once again this year and have been awarded $99,004.74, which one would be used for salary and benefits for school resource officer at $75,829.12, and then two, to purchase 13 AED, automated external defibrillators at $23,175.62. It's the administration's recommendation that we approve and accept and receive the grant funding through the Indiana Department of Homeland Security's Secured and School Safety Grant.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to accept and receive grant funding from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security's SSSG FY23 for the amount of $99,004.74. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, second by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 4.08, memo of understanding between Crown Point School Corporation and Family Concern Counseling. Mr. Gianfermi.
In your board package, you have a memorandum of understanding between Crown Point School Corporation and Family Concerns Counseling. This MOU is exactly like we have with Crown Counseling and Pillars of Wellness. And what it does is it allows us to create a partnership with a counseling agent so that when we run into situations where all of our social work and school counselors have run into a really intense situation where there's additional counseling, maybe outside of the school and with the family is needed, a tier 3 intervention, if you will, then we have this MOU in place. It also allows that counseling agency to then be in the school. We are adding a third counseling partnership because we want to cover our final two schools that did not have this partnership in place, and that would be Eisenhower Elementary and Lake Street Elementary. And so the administration recommends approval for the MOU between Crown Point Community Schools and Family Concern Counseling. Any questions you have?
You've heard the recommendation of administration for approval of the memorandum of understanding between Crown Point Community School Corporation and Family Concern Counseling. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bazin, second by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion?
Mr. Gianfermi, this is for our staff would recommend this.
Exactly. Our counselors are the gatekeepers between when that recommendation will happen. So it's generally through our trained school counselors or social workers where that recommendation comes.
Thank you.
So comment just first, great job in finding that third party. I know we discussed that before in the past, so that's wonderful. Where is this facility located?
They're actually in Valparaiso.
Valparaiso. Great, thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. 4.09, policy revision, policy 0167.3, public comment at board meetings. Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. I bring to you today a second time this policy for revision. As you know, in our initial conversations last month, we changed out some vocabulary per state statute to change participation to comment. But you thankfully had a good discussion at the last board meeting, which led to this final language. So I just want to thank you for help clarifying all that for us. And I bring to you policy 0167.3 to you today to complete the second reading and gain final approval on this updated policy.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of today's second reading and approval of the updated policy 0167.3. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion?
Just, I wasn't here last month, so had an opportunity to review this. Just for the record, I agree with the changes, so I appreciate the staff, all the changes made. It seems to make sense, so well done to the board and to the administration.
And just to alleviate some of those concerns I read after last month's meeting on social media, the participant's name and topic will be announced by the presiding officer, whether it be the president, vice president, secretary, as indicated on the agenda. So I just want to make sure. Some people were saying we're making this more difficult to speak at meetings. No, it's completely the opposite. You get your right to speak at the meeting, but at the same time, so that we can have an idea of what you're speaking about regarding the open topic, we're made aware of that prior to allowing you to speak. So it's not like we're going to say no, but it also helps us kind of indicate on where you're coming from with whatever topic that may be you'd like to discuss. Any other statements anybody would like to, or comments? With that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, and for all your work behind the scenes on that. Thank you, Artie. All right, item 5 on the agenda tonight is superintendent discussion groups. Mr. Vasher, did you want to start with anything you might have?
Well, representing the liaison to the Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission, there is some pushback in the proposed subdivisions going down where the South Shore Golf Course used to be, and the one to the south of Faith Church going down to 141st. There's some resident pushback scheduled for this week, so more to come.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. Anything from the city, Mr. Smith?
No.
Okay, and nothing obviously from Winfield as well. I will, just to reiterate on some of your comments, we did get a letter, myself, Dr. Terrell, from Cedar Lake about a meeting on the 17th of October from the Redevelopment Commission for that meeting.
That
Yes.
number I
Yes.
sent you?
So we're at least in correspondence to make
Okay.
sure we're being notified of what's taking place.
Is there anything I need to do?
We're okay as of now. If there is something else, we'll definitely keep you included in that discussion.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. 5.02, Director of Grants and Assessments. Mr. Hartman?
Thank you again. The state of Indiana has released a up to $50,000 grant for robotics to support robotics teams throughout the state. I think the legislation that supports this has found or realizes that the amount of money that is needed for this type of competition is pretty extensive. So we are applying. I've had a couple of meetings with today with our robotics coaches, very passionate people about robotics, and looking forward to really create this grant and be able to support them, because as they go out and they need the equipment and they need the parts and they need those kinds of supports, it's very important that we are able to provide that so that we can increase the number of students participating. We are limited in the number of students that can participate because of the amount of money it takes to have the parts and the kits for a team to be able to use, which was really something that was enlightening to me. And I think as a department, we will be working towards how can we increase that funding so that we can have more students participating in our robotics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. 5.03, Director of Elementary Education, Mr. Chikina.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank the people in our curriculum and instructional specialist roles. who work extremely hard to support our elementary teachers and learners. Essentially, the people in these roles problem solve and clear obstacles so teachers are really able to focus on their students and the curriculum. Our ELA and math specialists at the elementary level are Amy McAllister and Joe Bisick, and they are out and about daily in our buildings to provide instructional coaching, modeling, and a lot of support to analyze data, both to individual teachers and groups of teachers. Our blended instructional design specialists are Susan Valentine and Annie Vassar, and they work really hard to support teachers with technology-enhanced instruction, supporting the construction of courses within our Buzz learning management system. And another big area they support our teachers is checking in and providing ongoing support for our new teachers as well. Also, our media specialist, Jana Carney, provides really important leadership, coaching, and support to our media staff members in all our buildings, and she works really hard to coordinate our district-wide library needs. On another note, I want to recognize and congratulate our 5th graders who participated in the district-wide cross-country meet last week. This is a really cool event that our middle school cross-country coaches organize and put on each year at Lemon Lake for our 5th graders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chikina. Oh, Mr. Gill be yelling at me. Item 5.04, Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I would like to highlight the College and Career Fair that was held at CPHS on September 6th. Lynn Alkire, the Associate Principal at CPHS, organized this. It was our 12th College and Career Fair held at the high school, and it was open to CPHS students. We also, and their families, we also had students and parents from Lowell, Kankakee Valley, Hanover, Lake Central, Calumet, and Maryville attend. And what they were attending was the opportunity to kind of network with 82 colleges, unions, and agencies that came on site, had informational pamphlets, and were able to sign up to get email communication about things that they may be interested for their post-secondary opportunities. Our whole administrative team at the high school was there, as well as all of our guidance counselors, really showing the support we have for our students throughout high school, but also then in preparing them for their after high school post-secondary decisions. Peter Festuris, one of the counselors at the high school, also brings in Invest Ed, and they do FAFSA presentations, which is helping families understand how to apply for free federal student aid. And I'd also like to thank Michelle Krull in our food services, because she did an incredible job of hosting the hospitality rooms for our 82 vendors, which really welcomed them to Crown Point and made it a very positive experience. Likewise, as Mr. Chikina very eloquently stated, the specialists that we have in our curriculum and instruction department are instrumental to the support of our teachers, our staff, and of our students in turn. I'd like to acknowledge Jake Adams and Carol Lambercy. They work as our secondary ELA and math specialists. Jeremy Walker, who works as our blended instruction design specialist, and Anna Retzlaff, who works as our English language learner district specialist. Without these specialists, the alignment, the support that our teachers receive, the timeliness of kind of problem solving, strong communication, as well as the ability to support our focus on educator growth, teaching and learning, to then, of course, positively transfer that to our students would be much more challenging. So we are very appreciative of them. Specifically with our new teachers who have most recently come on board, all of these staff that we've just talked about meet with our new teachers to make sure that they are best able to meet the needs of students, best use the technology, are familiar with the curriculum and resources that are supported by Crown Point Community School Corporation. So thank you for your support of the specialists to support teaching and learning.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. 5.05, Director of Exceptional Education, Mrs. Paskus.
Good evening, President Angel, members of the board. Just a few updates from our world. We have just about completed processing 78 move-in students. So 78 students that came to Crown Point schools with IEPs. By law, those have to be processed within 10 school days of the student moving into the school district. So kudos to my coordinators, my diagnostic staff, teachers of record, and the admin teams who sat in those conferences and helped get the students the services they need. Last Wednesday, we hosted the Arc of Indiana for our families, and we had 11 families come out to learn about trust, ABLE accounts, special needs trusts. These are just different kinds of financial arrangements families have to consider if they have a child with special needs as they age out of school. We are hosting our first parent advisory group meeting in a few weeks. Mr. Gianfermi is going to join our group, and we're going to have our behavior specialist share some tips for parents on kind of how to help students with homework at home and just supporting behavior supports that we give in the classroom, supporting those at home as well. I also want to thank Dave Colson, Marty Freeman, and Scott Kessler, one of our job coach bus drivers, who helped recently with what could have been a kind of a scary situation with one of our adult students, and they kind of stayed on it and helped resolve a situation so that everyone could have some peace of mind and know that an adult student was safe and sound. So I thank them.
Thank you, Mrs. Paskus. 5.06, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you. I just want to recognize the work that the high school administration and the CTE teachers and staff have been doing with the CTE program at the high school. We're up to 24 CTE dual credit classes, and we have 17 complete CTE pathways for graduation, and that number probably was not even in double figures a few years back. So Mrs. Elkire driving that as an administrator, and again, all the teachers' hard work in that. I mean, we're offering pathways in construction trades, finance, marketing. Those are a couple that we added. Next year, we'll be adding healthcare and education. So there's a lot of work behind that to align that to the next level of programs of study that is happening right now. So just a great job by that administration and the staff out there. And we appreciate them offering those opportunities to our students.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. Mrs. Paskus, just one question I forgot to ask, even though I wrote it down. The 78, is that K through 12 or is that preschool too?
That's preschool through 22 years old.
Oh, okay. Thank you. 5.07, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Kiwa.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm just wanting to call to your attention and thank publicly some of our, what I call external stakeholders, or folks that support our processes here in ways that you may not know otherwise. But first, the Crossroads Chamber of Commerce, who we do work very closely with. They help greatly with our new teacher luncheon. They also help with Teacher Appreciation Day. But right now, currently, they're working on our Outstanding Educator Awards that they do annually. So I think those nominations were just sent in. And we will learn who our outstanding educators are coming up here in the next few weeks. We'll be able to announce that coming up. But we just love partnering with them, and they just do so much for our schools. They need to be mentioned tonight. In addition to Maryville Rotary, who also sponsors something called Clothing Our Children, where we get clothing vouchers for our students, K to 12. I'll be attending a luncheon here coming up next month to receive our vouchers, and we get those out to our needy families, and that is just tremendously appreciated. We've been working with the Maryville Rotary now for well over a decade on this project, so thanks to our folks there. And finally, we received, I want to say, in excess of 30 to 40 backpacks with supplies provided by our local Lions Club, and our folks there are just super. The ladies from the Lions Club really enjoy helping us out, and that handoff is always just fun. They're a very colorful bunch, and we love having them here. And what I've given personally to some of our folks that are unfortunately are homeless that we're helping support. So I was able to give them some backpacks right in my office. So just thanks to the Lions Club here locally for supporting our students and school community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. 5.08, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Angel, members of the board. I'd like to take an opportunity to recognize our technology staff. I think if you went back to a person and asked them to look back on 2020 and what they have in store over the next 5 years, I don't know if they'd all stick around or even be part of that. But we continue to throw major obstacle after major obstacle at them, and they continue to step up to the challenge and put in an enormous amount of time to get us ready, including a new student information system, the construction. You think it's just the construction's going on. They actually come in after the construction's done and get all the technology set up in the room to make sure that everything works. It is an enormous task that they've undertaken, and we're getting ready to throw some more at them. And they do still have some construction projects to go. But I want to thank them here before you for what they've done these last 4 or 5 years has truly been exceptional. They don't get a lot of credit. They get a lot of the blame when things go wrong, and they do everything in their power to make it better for everybody else in the corporation, whether it be students, staff, parents, to try to get us up and running. So I just want to thank them publicly.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. 5.09, Director of Communication, Mrs. Allen.
Good evening. Just a quick reminder that Thursday, this week, the 21st, from 4 to 6 p.m. is Community Tour Night at Taft. Our student ambassadors at Taft will lead tours around the building. So if folks have not had the chance to see that building yet, it's a great opportunity to come out for a visit.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. I do owe Mrs. Allen somewhat of an apology. She welcomed me and had me greet the 17 to 20 new members of our Ambassadors Club, and I was supposed to speak for 2 to 5 minutes. While most of you that know me, that's almost impossible. So I extended my time, and I'm gracious that you didn't reprimand me or anything. Thank you, Ms. Allen. I'm sorry? Pretty good. But once again, that's great that we have that program now available to our patrons here in the community, and I'll look like a wonderful group moving forward. So I know they got to listen to Mr. Reese for that first day for most of the day. So I'm hoping they understand school finance as much as we do now. So with that, 5.10, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. This evening, I want to change it up just a little bit, have a statement that I want to go through, and it's actually several pages long, but want to provide both you as a board and our community a cybersecurity event timeline dating back and beginning in November of last year. So I'm going to go through this point by point and just kind of give everyone an update. We feel like we are now at a position where we're able to share this timeline and the information that is involved with it. We are providing an update so our community has accurate information. The mailing process was the final step in dealing with this situation, and that was completed last month. We have the opportunity to provide and recap now the things that are finished, understanding that there are things that will continue to go on in the months coming. November 21st of 2022, we discovered that our network had been compromised. Later, forensic analysis showed someone first accessed our system on November 17th. Our technology team found encrypted files on our servers the morning of the 21st and immediately took all of our systems offline at that time. We retained a third-party cybersecurity specialist, a company called TracePoint. They confirmed that this was a ransomware event, and the threat actors gained access to some of our servers and workstations. The forensic analysis confirmed that the situation happened because a staff member gave up their login credentials, including password, as part of an email phishing attempt. With the help of TracePoint, we informed the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security and also the Indiana Department of Ed as required. All necessary paperwork was filed. We also involved our insurance company in this process. Each team, the district, TracePoint, and our insurance company also included their legal teams in all discussions. Crown Point reached out to the threat actor through TracePoint, and the initial ransom demand was $2.6 million. This was significantly and successfully negotiated down to $500,000. These payments were made with the assistance of a third-party broker, and we went through all of the relevant sanction checks through the third-party specialist prior to making this payment. As a reminder, we chose to cancel one day of school because we sent our staff home over Thanksgiving break, which was November 23rd through the 24th, without their computers, and we gave them a day to prepare before students returned. We did not cancel school because we couldn't teach students without technology. We chose to provide our staff with a day to prepare new lessons. On November 30th, we chose to provide families with a list of steps they could take to protect their information online. We did not know yet if personal information was compromised, but as our message indicated, we were concerned that it was a possibility. This was not a required notification, but we felt it was important. The negotiation process was lengthy, and it took weeks to negotiate and send payment, which was finalized shortly before Christmas break. During the time, our technology team began inspecting every Windows device in the district, which was nearly 2,000 computers. We chose to take a slow, careful approach to bringing systems back online so we could monitor them and add additional security. In January, we began the process of determining whether personal information had been accessed in the breach. A few things to remember. Because we paid the ransom, our student and staff information was turned to us rather than sold online. However, the information was technically accessed. So we followed the law and notified all affected individuals that their information was accessed. No credit cards or payment methods were stored in our system. Therefore, no credit card numbers were accessed during the event. Our financial systems were not accessed and our current student information system was not accessed either. Most of the documents that were affected were either Word or Excel documents, and this event did not affect any of our student Chromebooks. The ransom payment is a portion of the cost that was incurred during this incident. With the technology upgrades, payments to specialists, legal teams, and the installation of new softwares, the total cost for this event is approximately $1 million. We expect the majority, if not all of these expenses, excluding the ransom payment, to be reimbursed through insurance. We are fortunate that we had strong financial management over many years meant that we could incur these costs. This did not impact money for instruction, student services, or salaries. Why did it take so long to provide these details? Step 1 included negotiations and transferring payments and then the files. Step 2 was investigating what data was actually accessed so we could correctly notify individuals. Step number 2 took months, approximately January to May. The data team examined, and finally, another company that handles the sorting of all of the notification process, which then took an additional couple of months. Since this event, our district has taken a number of steps to improve cybersecurity. Explaining some of these steps would be like giving away the key, so I won't be sharing that information with you. A few things to note: our staff now are required training regarding phishing and cybersecurity. This includes our technology team running internal phishing attempts to test the staff. We have installed new software and systems. We have new cloud backup solutions and a hardened, more secure firewall. Staff and students are now required to use stronger passwords that are changed more frequently. We know this event had an impact on our school community, and we are proud of how our staff handled the changes and the challenges in the classroom. Our administration and board acted with the best interest of our students and the district in every decision we made throughout this process, and we appreciate, as Matt mentioned already, our technology team for the long hours they worked over several months. And let me pause and make a point of that. I don't think anybody truly understands the amount of time that they spent. This happened over Thanksgiving break, and I had to twist Brian's arm to make his people go home for Thanksgiving dinner so that they could continue working, and we just appreciate all the efforts that they made. So with that being said, that's the update of where we are right now. Just wanted to provide that information for you and also for our community as we tried to move forward with this event, knowing that it's not finished, but we're getting close to where we are we'll be in that position. Also wanted to mention this evening, this morning we were able to host the mayor's Monday discussions. Monday with the mayor, I believe, is the official title of it, and had, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 individuals here with the mayor and his team. It was a great opportunity to show our partnership with the mayor and his team there as we continue to work through it in our community. Exciting, next month's board meeting will be in our new administration center, and we are all desperately looking forward to that, where not only will our boardroom not be either Arctic or an inferno, but also will permit all of our resources to be under one roof and be able to be much more efficient in how we operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Item 6, other business of the board. Go ahead.
I've
Ms.
got something.
Basin.
So we had a group in the community kind of come about organically to address and discuss issues regarding diversity in our corporation. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up that that's going on, and I've been participating in those meetings, so I'll keep you updated as more information comes about with that.
Thank you. I was just gonna bring up, before anybody else goes, we have a couple things moving forward. Our Indiana School Board Association Conference is this coming Monday and Tuesday, where 3 of us for sure will be in attendance, and there's still one holding out, possibly gonna be able to make it for part of it. So that's always a chance for us to increase our knowledge in certain areas to help us become better board members. So with 2 new board members being on, it's a great opportunity to learn and also to commingle with other school corporations and their board members to kind of learn what maybe they're dealing with that maybe we're not seeing in our area. So, and also on November 8th, even though next month I could mention as well, that is the ISBA's fall conference, or I'm sorry, fall regional meeting, to where we get legislative updates. And I can tell you, my 20 years of service, I miss those very infrequently because it's held at Teebles. So it's an opportunity to get a nice meal and learn a little bit more to help me make some decisions or learn information that might be valuable to the Crown Point Community School Corporation. So that again is on November 8th. In case you can make that, just let Diana know. Any other board business, new board business, other board business? No? Okay. With that, we'll move on to board statements of appreciation and recognition. 7.01, Mr. Vassar, anything this evening?
I'd like to say thanks to our kitchen staffs, cafeteria staffs throughout our corporation. That's a lot of lunches that they serve every day. And there's a lot of dishes to clean, a lot of trays to clean every day. When I was a principal, I made it a point at least once a month to serve lunches and then run the dishwashing machine. I learned to appreciate those people a lot, so thank you to Pam and their staff who do all that.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. Ms. Basin, anything this evening?
So I had the opportunity to attend the football game 2 weekends ago, our last home game. That was a really great atmosphere. For those of you who haven't been able to attend, our team is doing extremely well, undefeated at this point, correct? So if you haven't had a chance to attend that, and also I see that Dion is not here, but always a thanks to Skillman for their continued work. Timothy Ball almost has a completed playground, so I have some very excited elementary school kids who are really amped up to get on that like almost completed facility. So a continued thanks to Dion for getting all that done.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
So I had the opportunity to go to the football game as well a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I noticed is the relationship between the students and our resource officers. And, you know, there's always a play area where the middle school kids go, and it's crazy, but the resource officers are right down there with them. And these kids, I mean, just one after another, 10 kids surrounding the resource officers. And I mean, I'm just seeing the resource officer just smile at all of them, and they're just chatting, but the relationship and bonds that they have created with the students and the time they take, whether it be lunch or just walking through the buildings and talking to the students, it's noticeable, and it makes a big difference. So just want to thank them for taking the time to build those relationships, because I have no doubt that when it comes to the security and safety of our kids, they're going to react and respond, and you can't put a price or a value on that. Equally, I had an opportunity to see, I had to drop my son off at the high school, the freshman, and had the opportunity to see the flow of the traffic and the officers out there and how they're directing traffic. And I mean, these individuals stand in the middle of lanes and with student high school drivers driving by them. It's dangerous, and it shouldn't be overlooked. And they do a great job, and I just want to commend them for having the heart and the guts to stand out there and do that, you know. So well done to all those groups, and thank you for your service to our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. First, my recognition is to Mr. Gill and to Diana Green. These meetings aren't, they just don't make themselves happen. Obviously, Dr. Terrell creates the agenda with his cabinet, and other administrators and presents that to us, and we come up here and make sure we approve and not always agree on things, but make sure that we're doing what we're doing as elected officials. But the behind-the-scenes credit goes to those two, especially now we moved online, so those of you that watch at home and listen at home can do so due to the fact that Mr. Gill puts this available. And Diana does pretty much all the legwork behind the scenes, make sure we don't miss the meetings, or at least let her know that we might be able to attend or not attend. So thank you to both of you for that aspect. Just to reiterate on Ms. Basin's comment about the football team, because we have a bunch of programs doing wonderful this fall. But this Friday could be a sight unseen, as Crown Point is now ranked 5th in the state in Class 6A, and Valparaiso is number 2 in 5A. So it's literally a clash of two area programs that are considered, obviously recognized in the state as top 5 programs in both their classes. So Friday's event should be one to behold. I can tell you it'll probably be packed to the, knowing that Valparaiso travels well and our support is overwhelming at this point. Should be a wonderful event for those of you that were unaware that that game is taking place this Friday. That's all I have. With that, oh, Mr. Vassar? No. Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. With that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Vassar, second by Ms. Bazin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.